by the DeHavilland Company in England. In early 1941, that company faced a huge challenge. It had to develop a new engine as well as to create an airframe for it to fly it in. The development program proved successful, and the DeHavilland Vampire made its first flight in September of 1943. It is the first production aircraft to the Royal Air Force, and it came right at the close of the war in April of 1945. The first generation jet engine, the Goblin, producing 3,500 pounds of thrust. And it has other very important construction techniques that we'll be discussing with Jerry Conley as he turns in. His smoke is on. Coming in from the left. What some have described with the name Vampire is the blood-sucking devil plane. Low and to the left. Look at this. This is history being relived at Oceana. Jerry Conley, you could not have picked a better sky to fly in.
Yes, sir. This is a Vampire sky.
Indeed it is. He's going to do a Shondell, but let me tell you a little bit about this airplane. Being the world's first single-engine jet fighter, it is the first Royal Air Force fighter with a top speed exceeding 500 miles per hour. And the British, they really kind of led the world in the development of carrier aviation. And they made it possible for the Chance-Bought M4U Corsair to be successfully and safely flown aboard aircraft carriers. But they applied their techniques, their skill, their research and development to make the DeHavilland Vampire the first jet aircraft to operate from an aircraft carrier, the HMS Ocean, in December of 1945. It also was the first jet aircraft to cross the Atlantic in July of 1948. And it set a jet altitude record in 1948, in March of that year, an altitude of 59,500 feet. Now, some of you who are aviation aficionados may recall DeHavilland Mosquito. Do you remember the Mosquito from the Royal Air Force in World War II? It was a unique airplane in that it was a twin-engine fighter bomber, but it was made of balsa wood. And some of those airframes and parts for the DeHavilland Mosquito were made here in the United States and sent over to Great Britain to be part of the balsa wood and plywood Mosquito. Well, DeHavilland said, we got something going here, because this airplane is made largely of balsa wood and plywood. They've got a great reason for that. Whereas most aircraft of the day were built of aluminum, which was stretched very thin around the frame of the fuselage and the wings, bullets from another aircraft or from the ground or anti-aircraft guns, the fragmentation of the anti-aircraft guns could easily penetrate the aluminum skin of these other airplanes. But guess what happened to the Mosquito, and also what happened with this? With the plywood and the balsa wood, it provided a huge protection for the pilot and the airplane itself, because it would stop the rounds before they would penetrate the vital parts of the airplane. With a maximum speed of just about 550 miles per hour, it was typically outfitted with 4 20mm cannons Eventually, the Vampire was sold to 29 countries, and over 4,300 of these planes were built. Jerry Conley wants to thank the following sponsors for all their help in keeping this airplane flying, including Ultimate Aviation, Gulf Coast Avionics, Concord Batteries, and Approved Payment Systems. The Vampire was the RAF's second jet fighter, along with the twin-engine Meteor. It was used to replace the piston-engine fighters and the fighter bombers after World War II. And it helped a host of air forces make the transition to jet fighter operations, serving in various versions with more than a dozen air arms around the world. The DeHavilland Goblin II turbojet engine is what powers it. They built the engine and the airplane. With a wingspan of just 38 feet and a length of 30 feet 9 inches. And a height, well, just 8 feet 10 inches tall from the bottom of the tires to the top of the tail. When you think of the simplicity of the operation of the jet engine, it is sometimes a surprise to historians to think of why jet propulsion didn't become more popular earlier in the 20th century. Because back in 1910, a Romanian guy by the name of Henry Rwanda demonstrated a jet engine and a jet aircraft. But nobody was interested in it. They wanted the piston engine, the reciprocating engine. And the radial piston engine became the motor and propulsion source of choice for many, many years. But fortunately, Henry Rwanda, who died in the late 1950s, was able to be vindicated in what he believed was a very, very easy, comparatively easy source of propulsion. To make a jet engine work, you got to suck the air into an intake with a fan, and then there are more fan blades, smaller ones, that help compress that air. That compressed air is then fed into a combustion chamber with an igniter and fuel, and the controlled explosion in that combustion chamber goes out the back and creates the thrust that drives the jet engine. 4 stages. You suck the air in, you squeeze the air, you blow it up, and then you go. And that's how the turbojet engine worked. From the right and the photo pass, I'll fade the sound down. You can get cameras on this right now. Jerry Conley, the airplane looks absolutely gorgeous. It is so fun to see such a special airplane flying here at Oceana. Jerry is talking to our air boss, Jerry Morick, call sign Hurl, and he's going to do his brake to landing here in just a second, I think. There are 5 of these airplanes here in this country, and I believe that Jerry Conley has flown just about every one of them. I just love seeing this piece of history. I hope you did too. Join me in a round of applause for Jerry Conley in the very, very rare and gorgeous DeHavilland Vampire. Coming up, just a few minutes, the skydivers from Skydive Suffolk.
Hey, where's Logan too?
Rob, we would like to thank some more of our sponsors, including ExxonMobil. Folks, make sure you stop by the mobile truck and try out the NASCAR driving simulator or entire changing contest for free. Fun for the entire family. Mobil is proud to sponsor military families and to be a sponsor of the NAS Oceana Airshow.